First I have to apologize to you guys. As an economist, we weren't as quick as we should have been. We're on now, I think. Hello, does this work? Can everybody hear me in the back? It's not working. Oh, it is working now. Whoa, it is working. What's loud? Everyone, we didn't catch the economy kind of went off a cliff, about a year ago, and we weren't really there to catch it. We weren't there to tell you it was going to happen. It wasn't that I held the information back to me. I didn't follow my own advice. I didn't know either. I would have got out of the stock market. I'd be rich, and I'd be retired too, instead of working until 110. So I didn't treat you any better or worse than I treated myself. But nonetheless, I feel bad. I'm sorry. There were a couple of reasons why we screwed up. Two in particular. One is economists don't look at history. So, whatever happened in the Depression, who cares? It's meaningless. Now we're beyond that. We've evolved as a profession, as evolved as a science, and we know things are not of concern. And the other reason is economists didn't focus on financing. We fundamentally believe that financing didn't make a difference. Who cared how you bought your house or what financing method you used? That turned out to have been a fatal flaw in our entire profession of not looking at that. So, despite the fact you may have reservations about how good economists are at forecasting and prediction and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to be doing any of that today. What I'm going to be doing instead is looking at history and what actually took place last year and compare it to what happened 2 years ago, to look at the comparison between how important housing is and how many jobs houses create in 2008 versus 2007, and we'll look at the differences. But first, a quick joke, as I promised. So, when you die, apparently, Albert Einstein meets you at the pearly gates. St. Peter's there or whatever, but so is Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein asks you a couple questions. He says, okay, you died. What's your IQ? They want to know. And I said 170. Ron, they have 170 IQ. Einstein says, well, that's great. You know what we're going to do? We'll talk about the theory of relativity and that kind of important stuff. And then you, sir, you come up and they ask, but your IQ is 140. Oh, that's very good. Let's talk about great Russian literature or something like that. And then finally, well, you loser. You come by and your IQ is like a 77 or something. And Einstein, without missing a beat, says, that's great. What direction do you think interest rates are headed in, So, economists, we got a bit of a problem. But that having been said, let's go on. Look, what we're looking at here is the economic impact of home building in Greenville County. And the way we look at this is we cut it into 3 parts. We say there's a construction phase, a ripple phase, and an occupancy phase. Look, the construction phase is obvious. You build a house, you get a construction phase. I've been on job site twice my whole life, but I understand what they look like. I see houses are wrapped, and trucks come, and workers come and go, and then people steal kitchen supplies from the job site, and so on. Really, I'm hitting a vein here, I see. But during this phase, the important part is there are jobs created. The builders and developers go to banks, they borrow money, they hire people, they spend the money on salaries and wages. They go to stores, they buy stuff. Salesmen and women sell stuff to the builders, we pick that up. And lastly, the builders and developers pay local fees to local governments. Fees for permits and fees for this and fees for that and HVAC and plumbing and heating and cooling and all those things together, and local government has that money. So at the end of the day, people have salaries, salesmen and women have commissions, and the owners of these stores make some profit, and local fees to taxes and governments are collected. What happens to that money? We can argue how well the money's spent. Government takes the money and throws it down the dumper. Obviously, that's natural because that's what government does with money. But the fact is the money starts spinning through the economy, and that leads to this ripple effect. When we think about the impact of home building, we never think about the ripple effect. We ignore it. We capture some of this construction effect in the form of the fees. We ignore the ripple effect entirely and then focus on the occupancy effect and think there's property taxes and that's it. There's more, and these effects are big. This ripple effect is roughly half as big as the construction effect. So as a builder out there, if you build 10 homes a year, it's as if you're economically building 15. If you pay $1 million in taxes collectively at this phase, isn't that another $500,000 in taxes over there? If you employ 10 people here, it's like 5 more here. This ripple effect's important. We underestimate it, and to some extent, we think as a result that housing doesn't pay its way. So in the future, please think about the ripple effect and remind politicians that it matters. Lastly, there's an occupancy effect. What happens here? A household moves in. What do? They spend money. What do, man? You move into a house, you fix it up, you fix the curtains, the window treatments, you do some landscaping, and then every year you pay property taxes and sales taxes and go to stores and have restaurants, and you lead your life, right? And that contributes to the local economy. That's the occupancy phase. If you add up these 3 phases together, that's the benefit of home construction. Now, what my model is not saying, please, be careful. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying just build houses. That will recover our economy. Our economy will recover. We tried that experiment in Arizona, in Phoenix. We tried the experiment in Las Vegas. Didn't seem to work all that well. You really have to have buyers to buy the house, and those buyers have to have jobs. So jobs are really an important part of this process. But, so a model is saying is, look, if you have an economic development corporation out there, they're trying to bring business into the community, continue. Look, in North Charleston, they just brought Boeing in, right? That's going to be a huge boon to the economy for a whole bunch of reasons. But one of the reasons it's going to be a boon is you're going to create all these jobs. Some of these jobs will not be filled by people who live in town. They will move into North Charleston or Charleston from out of town, from out of state. They're going to have to build houses. As they build houses for these people, they will create jobs. And those jobs will have ripple effects and spin-offs and permanent occupancy effects. That's part of the benefit of job creation. And that's part of the reason South Carolina wanted Boeing to move here. It wasn't, oh, the housing is going to be the best part of it. No, but it's a significant part of the story, and it's meaningful, and we'll get some numbers. And we can even begin to estimate what the impact will be to North Charleston within limits of what, based on the number of houses they may build. Now, how does the model work? Let's look at it briefly. I don't want to get into too much detail, but basically, builders borrow money, they spend money in the local economy, and that leads to income for local residents and taxes to government. All right? That's pretty simple. You borrow money and you spend it. Now, some of the money that gets spent doesn't end up as income and doesn't end up as taxes, because some of the money gets saved. Well, we're Americans. We don't save money, do we? No. We've offsourced that to the Chinese. That's what they do for us. Chinamen, please save money for us. The Japanese, you can do that for us too, because we're lazy and we like to spend and buy things profligately. But so if the money gets saved, it doesn't end up here or there. If the money gets spent on something not local, I like to buy very expensive Italian shoes, for example. I'm kidding. I work for the home builders, remember? If I did, I'd be buying these fancy shoes in Italy. It wouldn't be doing much good for the local economy. So if you buy something not made locally, it doesn't help. And where'd you go on vacation last, Steve? Haiti. Haiti's not part of the Greenville economy, is it? No. So you out of town, you spend money out of town. So those are the three reasons that all the money that gets borrowed doesn't end up as income and taxes, because some of it leaves through savings, through buying something here that's not made here, or buying something, or just going out of town to go on vacation. Three basic reasons why. So you borrow all this money, some of it ends up here, and some of it ends up here. We know how much because we have a model of the local economy. I don't want to get into too much detail and bore you with this, but the federal government gives me this information, so I know. So now we say people have incomes, government has taxes, and what do they do with the money? Sir, what do you do with your money? Absolutely, you're a good man. You're making the economy strong. That's right, spend it. Hopefully not on imported goods, hopefully on locally made goods only. I buy a locally made BMW or something, right? Okay. So the people now have money, the government has taxes, they start spending the money, and that leads to the ripple effect. So this bottom box here now becomes the top box there. People have now earned the money. Every 2 weeks you get paid as a worker on a supply on a job site or in a Lowe's department store, the lumber yard or whatever it is. They spend the money. We know how people spend their money from the Consumer Expenditure Survey. They tell us literally how we spend money. So I look around the room, I look at a guy like you. Seabrook is your first name? Wow, that's a nifty name. So I understand from the survey, it says you spend a lot of money on hair care, Rogaine, follicle stimulation and stuff. I knew that, but I wasn't going to say anything there. That was an intimate secret, I just didn't want to go there. Anyways, so you earn your money, we know how it gets spent, we know how that money in turn ripples through the local economy. Let's suppose, for example, you just bought a car and you want to get it tricked out. You want to get fancy wheels or something like that, or blaring loudspeakers. So we know that you spend some of the money on car repair. We know how the car repair shop creates the services it sells to you. It has to hire workers and have an office and pay taxes and the fax machine, the phone machine, and all those fees. And then they pay their workers, and those workers will fix your car in turn, spend the money. They hate their job. They see a psychologist, and the psychologist hates what they do, so they go do paintball once a week. They get all their frustrations out of their system. And the guy who runs a paintball shop never comes home. He has to go to a florist to buy flowers for his wife, who will be angry because you're working too hard on paintball. That's the ripple effect. I know it sounds trite and silly, but it's true. You earn some money building homes. The money gets spent I earn money building homes, I spend it at your shop. Some of the money you earn from me gets spent here. Some of the money he earns from you gets spent here, and so on. If you add up all these sequential steps, each of which is smaller than the one before because of savings or going on vacation in Haiti or buying fancy Italian shoes or a Ferrari or something like that or a fancy Gucci handbag, the cumulative effect of this ripple phase is half as big as the construction phase. That's the important takeaway message. We'll get to some details soon. Then there's the occupancy phase. Here the household moves in, they buy a house, they have a job because they've qualified for a loan, because bankers no longer give you a loan if you don't have a job. I don't think. They used to. I used to go to a bank and you could get like a home equity line while you were in line to make a deposit. Oh, let's get an equity line for $100,000. Sure. Now, the banks aren't so friendly anymore. So you move in, we know how you spend your money from the Consumer Expenditure Survey, we know how that money ripples through the economy, it leads to income and tax, we know how they spend the money, and there's a constant ripple every 2 weeks as you get paid. This process goes on over and over again, year in and year out. But think of it really simplistically. We'll go back, doesn't matter. But think of it really simplistically. Think of this. There's a construction effect as the home is being built. It's very big. It's short run. It only lasts as long as the home is being built. What, 7, 8 months and it's done. Think of it being this big, as big as my head. The ripple effect is half as big. It occurs at the same time as the construction effect, because every 2 weeks the workers are getting paid, and every 2 weeks they're spending money in the economy and it's rippling through. It's as big as my waist. It's happening at exactly the same time as the construction effect. Then there's the occupancy effect, which occurs once the home is sold. The home is built, the construction effect is gone, the ripple effect is gone. You now have the occupancy effect. It's as big as my knees, and it goes on forever. That's the sum of the benefits of home construction. This big rectangle, my head, a smaller rectangle of my waist down, and then this smaller rectangle that goes on and on and on and on forever. If you add those up over 5 or 10 years, you get the benefits, the sum of the benefits of home construction over this period of 5 or 10 years.